How about Shemel Shai? How about Shemel Shai? Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise opened, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is builded, and rest is allowed. Yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness and the moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrow let my soul bless Yahweh, the Jerusalem, sapphires, and emeralds, and stones, thy war battlements be paid first of praise him.
Breathe fresh and ready to have beautiful pure women. Okay, not no strawberry harlots on this side. Ready to have children, man. You can. Okay, I'm ready to go and visit places in the galaxy that we didn't know exist. All right, I'm ready to walk on the ocean floor, to fly. Okay, I'm ready to eat real food. Okay, I'm ready to drive a truck, man. Okay, I'm ready to worship Yahweh Shai in its full entirety. Okay, I'm ready for it. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready, man. I'm ready to see angels and greet angels.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem Shai. All right, and what I want to get into this afternoon, just really touch on, all right, the concept, okay, of the kingdom, as Jake, all right, has went off the rails, okay, as we're at the end, as the scriptures say, evil men shall wax worse and worse, and the doctrine, would be under attack, all right, and will have to be defended, okay. So we're going to address these things for doctrine's sake, the other soap opera madness that Jake got going on. All right, they can have it. All right, but for the sake of the doctrine, for the sake of taking this opportunity to edify, and go into this, because a lot of people, don't understand the concept, okay, of salvation, okay, and people don't associate salvation with the rulership. When we go into salvation and we go into the promises made to our forefathers, well, those things involve world dominion, okay, and it's going to be forever and it's going to be righteous, okay. Howard Shah, when he taught, he always spoke of a kingdom, okay, and when you start to incorporate salvation with other nations, well, you're telling the church, okay, that these people have a part in the promises and then the new covenant, which is just not true. Okay, but the whole concept of salvation and rulership, okay, when you go into uh salvation and how it pertains, okay, to a rulership, okay, then it's a disconnect. And that's why people are able to just throw in, salvation for everybody, because this world doesn't associate the salvation of the scriptures, okay, and linking it to a rulership that was promised to a particular lineage of people. Okay. So we're gonna go into these things. So first let's start here with this precept. Let's go here to the book. Now this is in the AMP. Okay. When you go to Proverbs chapter 4 and 7 in the AMP, it says the beginning of wisdom is get skillful, all right, and godly wisdom. It is preeminent. And with all you're acquiring, get understanding, actively seek spiritual discernment, mature comprehension, okay, mature comprehension, okay, and logical interpretation, okay, mature comprehension and logical interpretation. And see, you can say salvation is for everyone, for someone that's not spiritually mature, that someone doesn't have logical interpretation of the scriptures. Okay, someone that doesn't have a mature comprehension of the scriptures, you can tell them salvation is for everyone, and they'll blindly follow you. Okay, someone that doesn't have a logic interpretation of scriptures, you can tell it to, man. All right, because when you push a narrative that salvation is for everyone, there's so much of the Bible that you just have to completely ignore after you make that statement. Okay, there's certain parts of the Bible, all right, that you can't even touch because it doesn't fit that narrative, man. Okay, so as we, came into this truth, man, it was about growing and maturing. Okay, but when you have children in leadership that they're not mature, the church can't mature because you can only go as high as your teacher. That's your ceiling. Your teacher is your ceiling. Okay, so when you have a bunch of immature men, plus, these men are still slaves to their lust, and, they're able to be persuaded, okay, by monetary gains to teach madness, okay, you're held hostage, okay, to the madness, man. Okay, which at the end of the day, it's just getting to the point to where if you're still there, around those men, it was meant, okay, it was meant for you to be there. Okay, the elect gonna be around the elect, and the rest gonna be with the rest, man. And the Lord is just sealing it off. That divide between the hopeful elect and the rest, man. Okay, so let's go here. Let's get this in the book of Matthew. We're gonna go into this. All right, I would rather say this is edifying. This is Matthew 13:11. It said, Yahushua replied to them, to you it has been granted to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not granted. All right, it has not been granted. See, everyone is not granted to understand the mysteries of the kingdom. And you go into mysteries, said things humans. Now this sometimes it got these little tidbits over here, but it said things which humans cannot know or discover on their own unless the Most High reveals it to them. Okay, so it's not given to every Israelite. They're not granted to understand the mysteries of the kingdom. Okay, the concept of a kingdom, the concept of a promise that was given to a particular lineage of people, man. Okay, for eternal world dominion forever. Okay, which that's a part of salvation. That's why the scriptures speak about everlasting salvation, which we're going to get. Now, when you go into a kingdom, okay, when you go into a kingdom, let's get this word kingdom, okay. See, we're talking about rulership, man. They just loosely throw around the word salvation. Everybody can make it just to be a great area. No, we're talking about a specific rulership that was promised to a particular lineage, okay, that's promised to be established according to prophecy, man. Okay, because the reason we're going to be delivered, saved from the destruction, is for the sake of coming back in the earth and establishing a rulership. Okay.
Strong's G 932. Basileia. Basileia.
Basileia. Okay. It says, so when you go into it, Basileia is like the definition dealing with this context. Okay. Oh, where it go? So let's jump down. Royal power, kingship, dominion, rule. All right. It says a kingdom, the territory subject to the rule of a king. Okay. A kingdom, the territory subject to the rule of a king. Okay. Only Israelites, okay, are going to be joint heirs, okay, within rulership with Yahweh Shai. Because we're going to be changed. We're going to get those new bodies for the sake of ruling with Yahweh Shai forever. That's part of the salvation package, man. Okay, no heathen will partake in it, man. What is niggas talking about? Okay, so let's go from there. All right, let's go here to the book of Acts, chapter 1. All right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 6. It says, so when they came together, they asked him repeatedly, Lord, are you at this time reestablishing the kingdom and restoring it to Israel? Okay, Acts 1 and 6. So when they had come together, and this is the AMP, they asked him repeatedly, Lord, are you at this time reestablishing the kingdom and restoring it to Israel? Okay, so our forefathers understood that the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was dealing with a kingdom. And when they was asking about a kingdom, they was asking about bringing that golden age back. Okay, which we went over that. You see? And if the kingdom was for other nations, why didn't Yahweh Shai correct them? Remember, he's finna leave and go back to the heavens, and he's finna send them forth to go teach. So wouldn't this be the perfect time to clarify that the kingdom was for actual, other nations as well? Wouldn't this be the perfect time to do that? Okay, he didn't. He just told them it wasn't time. All right. He said to them, it is not for you to know the times, all right, epochs which the Father has fixed by his own authority. But you will receive power and ability when the Holy Spirits come unto you, and you will be witnesses to tell people about me, both in Jerusalem and in Judea and in Samaria, and even to the ends of the earth where we are today. See, there's things that still had to play out. Okay, as I said, John the Baptist, John the Revelator said he will prophesy before kings and priests again. Kings again. Okay, different nations and tongues and kings again. Well, they had to play out. Okay, in this time over here in the Western Hemisphere, man, the ends of the world. Okay, but Yahweh Shai never straightened them. If it was for other nations, he didn't give that clarity. Okay, this would have been the time to get that clarity before he left. He said, nah, y'all gonna get the power, y'all gonna get the Holy Spirit, y'all gonna teach, and then the end gonna come. Okay, well, what he said, the gospel shall be preached, okay, throughout the world, then the end will come. And now it's happening. Okay, now the kingdom is about to be restored unto who? Israel. Okay, so let's go from there. I got this. I got a few chats pulled up. Let me see. that's not the one. Okay, so I asked the chat. I said, so what is being requested in the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 6, concerning the kingdom being restored to Israel? All right. So in Acts 1-6, a disciple asked Yahushua, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? It said, what are they requesting and asking about? The disciples are asking whether Yahushua is now going to bring about the full restoration of Israel's kingdoms. All right, Israel kingdom. Okay, which in their minds has several layers. Okay, a political restoration. Many Jews at that time expected the Messiah to remove Roman rule. Okay, Esau, Edom, restore national independence, reestablish a Davidic style kingdom on earth. Reestablish a Davidic style kingdom on earth. Okay, so they understood salvation to be linked with rulership. Okay, they thought he was going to take down Rome, which was going to remove that captivity. Okay, and establish the kingdom at that time, but it wasn't that time. And their mind was on a Davidic style kingdom on earth, man. All right, all 12 tribes united. Okay, and having dominion over the heathen. You see, it says, so the disciples seem to be asking, is now the moment when Israel becomes a political kingdom again? All right, it says a national restoration of Israel's glory. There were also expectations from the prophets Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel that Israel would be gathered and renewed, have a restored covenant relationship with the Most High. Okay, experience blessings and security. That's salvation. That's an everlasting salvation, to always be secure from your enemies. Okay, be a central nation in the Most High's plans. All right, they may have had this in mind as well. Okay, a Messianic restoration. Many believe the Messiah would inaugurate a renewed Israel, a righteous reign over the nations. Okay, a righteous reign over the nations. It says, so the question implies, will the Masonic age fully begin for Israel right now? Okay, so this is what our forefathers was inquiring about, man. Okay, Israel to be restored back to rulership over these other nations, man. You see, that's what salvation is linked to, rulership, man. Okay, let's go here. All right, when they were seeing the Messiah, all right, when they knew Yahushua had come, they was thinking, okay, that he's going to restore Israel now. Okay, that's the way they was thinking. They were thinking about a rulership then. Okay, but it wasn't time. So when you go here to the book of Jeremiah, let's get Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23. All right. And 5, it says, behold, listen closely, the days are coming, said the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he will reign as king and act wisely, and will do those things that accomplish, all right, justice and righteousness in the land. Okay, so there's a king that's coming from a lineage. And see, this is what Herod and them was afraid of. This is why Herod was killing, okay, the Hebrew boys 2 and under. Okay, because these heathens know, okay, they know, all right, that when it comes to, all right, the Israelites, okay, they have to try their best to keep this people down. They understand, okay, us being in our right mind and turning back to our power is dominion for us and captivity for them. Okay, and that's why even with this, all nations can be saved. They flock to Christianity because Christianity don't deal with rulership. But when you start talking about the rulership aspect of Israel, you're not going to get nations, all these different nations flocking to this. They know, all right, that they have no part in this, man. That's why Herod immediately tried to stomp this out. Okay, so they knew this is what them wicked scribes and Herodians that was in the courts of Herod. These are the precepts and the prophecies they was telling him about. This why he was troubled. Okay, man. In fact, we're gonna get there and come back to that. All right, let's get this in Matthew, man. All right. See, when you're thinking from a perspective of rulership, okay, like Herod, he was a puppet king, but he was a king in his own right. Okay, he called himself the imposter king of the Jews. Okay, so in his mind, this birth of this king is a threat to his throne. Okay, just like us being raised up is a threat to how the earth runs, man. That's why all these heathens, the upper echelon of these heathens, they're all about suppressing us, man. Beginning with Esau, Edom. Okay, they know how rulership work, man. You see, but you can deceive a simple slave-minded nigga and say salvation for everybody because they don't link it with rulership. Okay, it says Matthew 2:1 says, now when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, Herod the great, all right, magi, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, where is he, all right, who has been born king of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have came to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. And there was all of them sellout niggas with him. Okay, so he was disturbed. Okay, why was he disturbed, man? He's like, shit. He in his mind, I'm done. If this is the king they've been prophesying about, I'm done. Okay, so when you go to Jeremiah, all right, because them wicked guys that was with the wicked Israelites that was with Herod, all right, they was going into precepts like this, man. Jeremiah 23, okay, and 5, it says, behold, listen closely. The days are coming, says the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he will reign as king and act wisely and do, it says, and will do those things that accomplish justice and righteousness in the land. So he's coming to get shit in order. Okay, see, our king, Yahushua, the party stops for these heathens, man. Okay, the party stops. See, all this BS and all these different religions and to get to serve these guys and all this madness that's going on in the earth. See, Yahushua is coming to put a stop to it all. Okay? These heathens ain't granted access to rule with us, man. Or to be delivered from the coming destruction, man. There's wicked to teach that, man. As a proclaimed Israelite all this time. To flip the script and teach that. Verse 6 says, in his days Judah will be saved and Israel will dwell in safety, man. It specifies, all right, one lineage of people, Judah being the southern kingdom, Israel being the northern tribe. So it specifies what? One lineage of people, man. This never changes. Okay, one lineage of people who this is for. Okay, so when Yahushua is sent back to execute righteousness and judgment, there's only one nation of people that's going to be in safety, which is their salvation. Okay, only one nation of people is going to dwell in safety forever, man. Okay, it says, now this is his name by which he is called the Lord our righteousness. Okay, therefore, behold, the days are coming, said the Lord, when they will no longer say, as the Lord lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. Okay, but they will say, as the Lord live, who brought up and led back the descendants. So, okay, a lineage of the house of Israel from the north country, America, and from all the countries, okay, the Israelites scattered, to which I have driven them, then they will live in their own land. So this is speaking of descendants of the house of Israel who's going to be saved, man, who's going to be delivered. Okay. And they're going to be delivered to what? To rule. Because the kingdom is going to be restored under this king, this branch that will come from David, which is Yahweh Shai. Okay. And they was thinking that he was finna set it off then. Okay. But it wasn't that time. Now, when you go from there, let's see what they say about, let's see, because I got quite a few. Let me see. All right, let's go here. So let's go here. So you go back to the chat. All right. Go back to the chat. It says that Jeremiah 23:5-6 refer to a future kingdom of a united Israel in the earth. Okay. So let's go here. It says here's a clear, balanced, all right, explanation. It says many, especially in Jewish and Christian tradition, understand Jeremiah 25:7 as referring to a future earthly restoration of a united Israel under a righteous Davidic king, which is Yahweh Shai. Others interpret it metaphorically, spiritually, or as a fulfillment in past, which that's BS. All right. Now, let's go and say what the passage says summary. Jeremiah 23, verses 5-7 says, a coming righteous branch from David's line, a king who will reign and act wisely. He will establish justice and righteousness in the land. Judah will be saved and Israel will dwell securely. Future restoration will be so great that it will overshadow the Exodus as a defining act of the Most High. These details lean towards an earthly, political, national restoration involving both Judah and Israel, the northern kingdom. Okay? So salvation, all right, what's included in salvation is a restoration of a kingdom. Okay, which we're gonna rule that kingdom in those new bodies, which is gonna what? Be salvation from sin. Okay. All this is included in this, man. There's a lot of perks that come with being an Israelite, man. Okay, especially if we of the elect, man. Abba Ratazah, you brothers. Okay, you few sisters, man. There's a lot of perks that come with this, man. All right, it's a major difference between being an Israelite and everyone else, man. Okay, now when you go into it says most traditional Jewish interpretation understand that as this is messianic and earthly, a future Davidic king, the Messiah, regathering of the exile, reunification of Judah, okay, and Israel, restoration of peace and justice in the land, okay, of Israel. This reading explicitly expects a real world future kingdom, okay, a real world future kingdom, okay. Now let's go here to Ezekiel. Okay. So let's go to Ezekiel 37. And we'll go back to the chat. So you go here to Ezekiel 37. and jump down to all right, Ezekiel 37:21. It says, say to them, thus said the Lord power, behold, I'm going to take the children of Israel from among the nations. So the salvation is going to be extrapolating Israelites from among the nations. Okay? This is salvation. It's going to be Israelites. It's going to be extrapolated. The elect of Israel are going to be extrapolated from among the nations, man. No heathens will be included in their deliverance, man. They're going to have to deal, all right, with this destruction and this war and this tribulation. Okay? And the survivors of the heathens are going to be survivors for slavery, man. Okay? And it says, behold, I'm going to take the children of Israel from among the nations where they have gone, and I will gather them from every side and bring them into their own land, and I will make them one nation. Okay, salvation is for one nation. Okay, and I will make them one nation. Northern and southern kingdom will come from the same lineage, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, on the mountains of Israel, and one king. Okay, and one king. All right. It says a reference to the coming messianic ruler, Yahushua, who would achieve for Israel what David had, but with perfection. Okay? You go into the notes, you go into the footnotes. It says a reference to the coming messianic ruler who would achieve for Israel what David had, but with perfection, man. What did Yahushua? One greater than Solomon is here. Because Yahushua, Solomon perfected, man. Okay, it says, and they will no longer be two nations and will no longer be divided into two kingdoms. They will no longer defile themselves with idols or with detestable things or with any of their transgressions, but I will save them, deliverance, salvation from their transgressions in which they have sinned. I will cleanse them so they will be my people and I will be their power. That's not extended to the heathen, man. Okay, because Yahushua, his sacrifice saved us from the punishment of the wrath of the Lord in this time by those who repent, those who come back. Okay, their sins, won't be held against them because of what Yahushua did. Okay, which the sins of the elect are pardoned in this time. Okay, and the elect will the Lord will put the Spirit on the elect to what? Repent. Okay, and begin that cleansing process through Yahushua. Okay, and then we're going to be perfected at the return of Yahushua. We're going to be forever saved from sin. Okay, that's only for one people, man. Ain't no Moabite gonna get that privilege, man, and honor, man. Okay, and it says, verse 24 says, my servant David. Okay, my servant David will be king over them. Okay, because he's going to be second in command under Yahushua, and they all will have one shepherd. They will all walk in my ordinance and keep my statutes and observe them. Okay, because why? We're going to be perfected. We're going to be changed. We're going to have new bodies. Okay, it says they will live in the land where your fathers live, the land that I gave my servant Jacob, and they will live there. All right, and they and their children and their children's children forever, and my servant David will be their leader forever, man. An eternal kingdom is promised to Israel. That's it. Okay, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It will be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them and will put my sanctuary in their midst forever, man. This is only for Israel, man. Okay, but this is a restoration, okay, of a lineage of people, man. Okay, this is a restoration of Israel back to power. Okay, so when you go from there, let's get this. Let me see. So let's go to another chat. All right. And then we'll link this to Abraham. Okay. So I asked it, is Ezekiel 37, verses 24 through 25, speaking of a restoration to power for a future kingdom of Israel? It says, yes, Ezekiel 37 and 24 does describe a restoration of power for a future kingdom of Israel, but how that restoration is understood depends on the theological framework. The passage clearly represents a united Israel under a renewed Davidic ruler with sovereign authority. The major disagreement is whether it's literal, all right, future national kingdom, okay, which it ain't no argument, man. Okay, but let's just go down here. It says, my servant David shall be king over them. They shall dwell in the land forever, and David, my servant, shall be their prince forever. Key elements: a united Israel, one nation, a king ruling over them, the land restored to them, perpetual rule forever. Okay? Davidic, all right, David or Davidic figure ruler, which Yahushua and King David are both going to be there. All right? King David is going to be under Yahushua. Okay, this strongly implies governance authority and a reestablished kingdom order. Okay, it says this view sees Ezekiel 37 as predicting a future political kingdom of Israel, okay, ruled by the Messiah, okay, the greater David from Jerusalem. It says Israel restored to the land permanently, national sovereignty under divine rule. Okay, this context is national, it says national, geographic, and political. The phrase "forever" and land boundaries. Okay, other prophets also speak of a restored Davidic rule. Okay, conclusion: Ezekiel 37. All right, verses 24 through 25 is describing a real earthly future kingdom of Israel under the Messiah. Okay, the phrase forever and land boundaries match promises to Abraham. And what was Yahushua coming to establish? Okay, he wasn't coming to open this up to no goddamn heathens, man. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to the book of Romans. All right, there's the book of Romans, chapter 15. All right, in verse 8. This Romans 15 and 8 says, for I tell you that Yahushua has become a servant and a minister to the circumcision on behalf of the Most High truth to confirm and verify the promises made to the fathers. Okay, and what was the promises made to the fathers, man? Okay, now you go here. Let's get this in Romans, the 4th chapter. Who was promised to Abraham? Let's get this in the NLT. So this Romans 4 and 13. All right, Romans 4 and 13 says, clearly the Most High's promise to give the whole earth to Abraham and his descendants was not based on his obedience to the Most High's law. So the Most High's promise to give the whole earth to Abraham and his descendants, Through who? Through Isaac and Jacob. Only one nation promised the world. Okay, forever. That's Israel, man. Okay, it was not based on his obedience to the Most High's law, but on right relationship with the Most High that comes by faith, man. And do we believe this? Okay, do we believe this? We're going to be tried to see if we believe this, man. The tribulation that's coming is going to be the elect. For the elect, it's going to be us being tried to see if we believe this, man. Okay, that this promise is coming to these descendants, man, the tribes, Israel. Okay, what was given to Jacob? All right, Genesis 27. All right, Genesis 27, and let's start here. So let's get Genesis 27. I'm see what it say in the AMP. I ain't never read it in the AMP. All right, Genesis 27 and okay, 28, and this is Isaac blessing Jacob. It said, now may the Most High give you the dew of heaven, okay, and the fatness, okay, of the earth, you see, and the abundance of grain, okay, and new wine. All right. You see? So let's go here. It says, my people, I say, may peoples serve you. Who are these people that's going to be in servitude, man? It's going to be all the nations, all of them. There ain't going to be no exclusive heathens on the side with us, man. All of them going to be on the other side. And nations bow down to you, be Lord and master over your brothers, and may, all right, your mother's son bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed. Okay? So this was given, all right, to Jacob. This was passed down to Jacob. Okay? Nations bowed down to him, nations serving him having, all right, the earth, resources. Okay? This was promised to a lineage of people, man. Okay? And when you go further on in the scriptures, they never change. All right? When you go into, let's go to Isaiah 16. I mean, Isaiah 60. Okay? Isaiah 60 and 14. Okay? Matter of fact, let's go here. Let's start at 10. All right? Isaiah 60 and 10 said, foreigners will build up your walls. These are heathens. This is their role. Okay? The heathens will be enslaved. Okay? Every single last one of them won't one drop. Okay? Won't one, you know, micro strand of a heathen. Okay? Be amongst us, man. It says, and their kings will serve you, for in my righteousness, all right, for in my righteous wrath I struck you, we was punished, but in my favor and grace have I had compassion on you. And that's the thing. No one went through captivity with us. No one was jumping up and down to go through captivity with us, but everybody can be saved with us, man. Okay? Even the captivity went through qualifies us for the promises, man. Okay? See, the Lord was angry at us, man. That's why we was punished. And now we're finna come into his favor. That's why we're going to be delivered. Okay, that's why salvation is exclusive for us, man. It says your gates will be open continually. They shall not shut day nor night, so that people may bring you the wealth of the nations with their kings, all right, led in procession, man. Okay, so these heathens, okay, they're going to be tributary to us forever, man. Every last one of them, excluding Esau, which he's going to get destroyed at the end of 1,000 years. Okay, and he'll never have wealth again. Okay, well, these nations going to be tributaries, man. That's how kingdoms function, man. Okay, every single nation, if you're not of the lineage of Israel, okay, you're going to be a servant and a tributary forever. Okay, for the nation or kingdom which will not serve you, Jerusalem shall perish, and the nation that refuse to serve you shall be utterly ruined, man. Okay, so there's going to be one nation of people in power over the rest of the nations, man. That's how the earth works. That's how rulership works. Okay, there was always one nation that dominated the other nations, man. Okay, we're the nation that has their promise forever. Okay, it says the glory of Lebanon will come to you, the cypress. Okay, it says the juniper and the cedar tree to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will honor and make the place of my feet glorious, man. Yeah, the earth, all right, is going to be decked out, man. You know, and we're going to get to deck it out, all right, with this luxury infrastructure of precious stones, gold, all right, the best woods, okay, and these heathens, all right, they're going to be the hands and feet that's going to build it, okay. Verse 14, it says, the sons of those who oppress you will come bowing down to you in submission. Is this not what was told to Jacob? Okay. And all those who despise you and treated you disrespectfully will bow down to the soles of your feet, and they will call you the city of the Lord, the Zion, all right, of the Holy One of Israel. Okay. It's going to be a major difference between Israel and everyone else, man. Okay. You won't look at a heathen and mistake him for an Israelite. That it's going to be a completely different. We're going to be kings and priests in the earth. We're going to be gods, man, in the earth, man. Heathens don't got that privilege, man. Sons of God is speaking to a lineage. That's why Yasha Allah, he prince of the power, man. Okay, that's speaking to a lineage, man, and these heathens have no access to that. Okay, you go to Joel, which Joel is speaking of what? Let's go here. This book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. Okay, you go to the book of Joel, chapter 3. This is so this is the war. Okay, so you go to Joel 3 and 14. It's dealing with the Third World War. It said multitudes in the valley of decision, all right, of judgment, all right, because this is what the Lord gonna judge these heathens, man. The Lord is finna wreck shop on these heathens, man. There's a punishment for these heathens. Okay, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision, when judgment is executed. Okay, the sun and the moon, all right, grow dark, and the stars lose their brightness. Okay, because we know those chariots, okay, them nukes. But over here in this, the chariots gonna block out the sky. All right, and the wisdom and understanding of these heathens, it's gonna be darkened, man. What they thought was, it wasn't. Okay, you imposters in our land thinking you straight. No, you're finna be judged, man. Okay, you heathens, you heathens finna get their work, man. Okay, it said the Lord thunders and roars from Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, in judgment of his enemies. Okay, which are all these heathens beginning with Esau, Edom. And the heavens and the earth tremble and shudder, but the Lord is a refuge for his people, only his people. Okay, so salvation in this time of great judgment is only for his people. a stronghold of protection to the children of Israel. Okay, so in the midst of this third world war, okay, as Yahweh Shai is getting busy in the earth on these heathens, man, their protection is only for Israel. He's only be a refuge for his people. All right, the elect of his people at this time. Okay, then you will know and understand fully that I'm the Lord, your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then Jerusalem will be holy, and strangers who do not belong, these heathens, all of them. Okay, ain't no specialty heathens, man. Okay, and strangers who do not belong will no longer pass through it. Okay, will no longer pass through it, man. They're not going to have the access that we have in the kingdom, man. Okay, that's done. That ends on this side. Okay, we're going to be an exclusive people, man, ruling the righteous kingdom forever. Okay. This is Isaiah 52:1 says, "Awake, awake, put on your strength, O Zion, put on your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will no longer come in into you." Okay, let's get this in the I think it's in the NLT. Okay, showing the kingdom gonna be exclusive, man. Okay, it says, "Wake, wake up, O Zion." You know, we will awaken to the truth, and it's only calling for one nation to wake up. Clothe yourself with strength, which is understanding, faith, obedience to our power, man. Put on your beautiful clothes, which is our conduct, O holy city of Jerusalem. For unclean and godless people will never enter your gates no longer, man. They're not going to have access like that, man. The heathen, okay, they're going to be workers, man. Okay, they ain't going to be slaves. They're going to be servants, man, handmaids. Okay, let's go here. Even when you go back to, let's get this in 2 Samuel 7. This is 2 Samuel 7:10 in the NLT, and I will provide a homeland for my people Israel, planting them in a secure place, salvation, whether it says where they will never be disturbed. Evil nations won't oppress them as they have done in the past. Okay, that's everlasting salvation, man. These heathens will never be able to oppress us again. That's reserved for Israel. So let's go here. Let's get this in Isaiah. I think it's 45. You know, we can end it here. And there's plenty more. You know, I just want to bring this out. But let's go here, Isaiah 45. Okay, 14 said, "This is what the Lord says. You will rule the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, okay, and the Sabians, okay. They will come to you with all their merchants and will be all yours." So it says this is enslavement of the heathen, man. Okay, and this goes for all the heathen. The Egyptians are just being used. Okay, these Hamitic nations. Okay, they're being used, but this goes for all the heathens. This is going to be the scenario for all the heathens that survive. Okay, the judgment. Okay, it said they will come to you with all their merchandise. All right, and it will all be yours. They will follow you as prisoners in chains. They will fall to their knees in front of you and say, "The Most High is with you." You see, all the heathen gonna come to their conclusion that the Most High is with us. Okay, So let me finish this out. And it said, they will fall to their knees and say, the Most High is with you, and say, the Most High, all right, he is the only power. There is no other. Truly, O power of Israel, our Savior, your work in mysterious ways. All craftsmen who make idols will be humiliated. They will be disgraced together. But the Lord will save the people of Israel with eternal salvation through everlasting ages. They will never be humiliated or disgraced. Okay? So this eternal salvation is for Israel, man. And these heathens are going to know that the Lord, this is the Lord's people. They've always been the Lord's people. You know? But that's the point, you know. I just want to bring that out. Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sister edified. Till next time, I say Shalom. Kwam Yashala, Abba, Soon Shalom.